Grace, peace, and spoiler alert, I'm Ryan, I'm the movie pastor. I have a movie pass, so I watch all the movies that come out that I can manage to get the time to. It's a great relaxation for me. And then I think theologically about them. I use my theological training, my history in hermeneutics and homiletics, that is interpretation and preaching, to interpret and talk about the meaning of these films that I see, and I am excited to talk about Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. When I started this channel, I knew that The Rise of Skywalker would be coming up, and that it would be a trial by fire for this channel, because I'm still figuring out how to have a YouTube channel, and I of course haven't reflected on the 8 other central movies that have to do with this whole Star Wars mythology, not to mention the spin-off movies and the animated series and The Mandalorian. And so I'm jumping into the end to try to think theologically and to try to talk about what's being said, what's being communicated after so many years of Star Wars really speaking to me and being important. Star Wars was a helpful and important narrative that I drew upon when I was in high school to kind of make sense of my world and understand to what degree family is fate, and to what degree where you come from determines where you go, and to what degree that's not the case. That's stuff that Star Wars talks about. That's stuff that this last movie has talked about. It also talks a lot, always, about being haunted by the light versus haunted by the dark. But this movie, in particular, has one thing that's really interesting that I want to talk about in this video, and that is Force healing. Force healing. There are other aspects of the movie I'm going to rewatch. I'm going to do another video. I'll link it at the end here. But for this, the thing that stuck out to me as particularly theological when I watched it for the first time, just cold, before I read anybody else's opinions, before I hear from the fans to learn whether I'm supposed to like this one or hate this one, I have got to tell you about Force healing, because I liked it. I think it was an interesting addition. It's a potentially catastrophic addition. I mean, it changes things about how we understand ways to solve problems. A lot like the Holdo maneuver that was added in the last film was a potentially catastrophic decision. And of course, one of the classic examples was the time turner that was added to the Harry Potter series. Once you invent time travel, you know, it's hard to really have any other problems. But for the purpose of this movie, we didn't deal with any of that. We just had Force healing. It's a thing Rey can do. Turns out it's a thing Kylo can do also. And what happens is you share some of your life force. You give some of your hit points away to someone who is wounded, and that wound heals itself. And so you live a little less, and they live a little more. It is the ability to do the opposite of hurting, the opposite of killing. And so we learn in the film that Rey can do this when she heals a snake. And then in the middle of the film, there's a moment when Rey and Kylo are sword fighting. They're in the middle of an epic lightsaber battle, and Leia reaches out to her son, which causes Kylo to hesitate, at which point Rey kills him. I thought that was a great moment, because I'm sitting there being like, oh my gosh, there are questions about redemption here. There are questions about, was he just about to turn and she just killed an ally instead of killing an enemy because of her hate? And is that going to tip her to the dark? That's so interesting. And I think all of that was really there. And that's what excites me, that all of that complexity, all of those thoughts, I think they were all intended, and that's great art. That's when people make you feel feelings like that on purpose and yet don't hold your hand and drag you through them. They're doing a great job. That's good writing, that's good directing, that's good filmmaking. And none of that happens. And she instead heals. She heals Ben Solo while allowing Kylo Ren to die. And so she, in place of killing undoes the killing and gives of herself. She sacrifices. Well, then at the end of the movie, she is face to face with the Emperor, and the Emperor makes it clear, just like he did in Return of the Jedi, a lot of the themes I'm not talking about because they happened in Return of the Jedi first, and I feel like they belong to Return of the Jedi. But just like in Return of the Jedi, the Emperor is saying, hit me, kill me. I want that. I will win if you do that. You can't beat me by destroying me. I win if you destroy me. Then you become the Sith, and that's what I'm looking for. I'll live on through you. I'll have this legacy. And what she does instead is she makes a cross. She crosses her two lightsabers, one that she got from Ben and one that she was holding, Leia and Luke's saber, two dead friends, dead people. And with that cross, she and the Emperor both die together. She doesn't kill the Emperor. She allows the Emperor to kill them both because they are equally matched. He's all the Sith, she's all the Jedi. And then, the Rise of Skywalker. The Emperor called Ben Solo Skywalker. He gets up and he shares his life force with her so that he dies. He force ghosts Ben, Kylo Ren, formerly, and she lives. It's an interesting retelling of that same old monomyth story where by dying you win. Only by giving up of yourself can you defeat. And in this particular telling, it actually gives a stewardship message. Because when you give, you get. When you... I mean, we often talk about it in finances, and it's a shame that that's when we mostly talk about it. But when you give of yourself and you give of your finances, you find that there's more gratitude and there's more money to go around. God does something with what you have. But it's also true with energy. It's also true if you put effort towards something. If you try to just not put any effort for a long period of time into anything, just kind of hold up your energy, keep it to yourself. Don't share your energy with friends. You'll have less and less, But if you go out, if you exercise, you get more energy. If you choose to spend your time and effort on things that you care about, things that make the world a better place, you get more and more. And Jesus talked about it for life. He said, anyone who attempts to save their life will lose it, but those who give their life for my sake and for the sake of the gospel will find it. So Rey gives her life, literally her life force. The Emperor drains her life force. She gives her life force away to a snake and away to Kylo Ren. And because she does that, she gets more life. Ben Solo returns the life to her at the moment when she needs it. And so there is a wealth, there's a richness of life that she has because of her willingness to share it, because of her willingness to give it away. And all of that is going on while we tell the cross story, while we tell the story that at this point is so familiar, it's old hat. It happens in all of these movies where the hero dies and comes back to life. That's a classic. That's the Matrix. That's over and over again in action movies. We're used to heroes acting like Jesus because they die and come back to life. But here they're acting like Christians who sacrifice and come back to wealth. I thought that was really neat. I thought it was cool. And I appreciated it. I enjoyed a lot of the rest of the movie too. I'm excited to think and talk more about it with you, but I want to hear your comments on just that observation, if you would. Tell me what you think about my thoughts there. Am I making sense? Did you notice that too? What else did you notice? What should I make another video about? I would love for you to comment. And more than anything, I would love for you to share. If I can just get these videos in front of as many people as possible, I think these are fun discussions. I think there's a big audience for this kind of stuff. You can watch my Dark Waters video and hear about why I think there's a potential big audience here. And I will see you next time.
And when in scenes of glory I sing the new song, 'twill be